Hello, everyone in the LinkedIn and the YouTube world. Welcome to session 5 of my 24 in 24 for Samaritans fundraising campaigns. It's not just fundraising, so I'm raising money for my branch, but also to raise visibility about the fact that Samaritans, as a non profit organization and charity, as a crisis phone line. We are there for our callers 24/7, 365 days a year, which is why my fundraising target, hang on, I've got this really cool thing I can do that there. Okay, that link, you can donate. My target is 2,473 pounds and 56p. It's an odd number because I was trying to be clever there. 247,365. There you go. Help me smash my target, and that'll be amazing. So, we do a very important service. We're there for our callers, who are might be going through a distressing period of their lives, might be feeling suicidal. So we're there for them. And what I'm trying to do here is to show you that we can have conversations that matter. And I asked, when I got this really crazy idea, I asked for some help from my friends to support me by either, having a discussion about a topic or stepping up to try and keep me awake while I'm presenting my topic. So, with me here today, very bravely, is my wonderful friend Piyusha. Piyusha,
Hello, everyone. Really excited to be here. I have actually done a few lives with Pay already, so we are familiar with this setup. But this one is special, I'll say, because Pay is actually really enthusiastic about Samaritans, and you know, and I feel like we need people like Pay because they are doing a lot of good things. And I'm really excited to be a part of this amazing initiative where we get. I know I'm not doing too much, but at least like we can add some of the contribution to this amazing initiative and raising some funds for Pay's Local Samaritans branch because I feel like I have seen a lot of the people around me getting stressed, and then one of my cousins, she actually gone through this process and she died when she was, I guess, 26. She had no one to talk to because people, especially in Asian societies, are very restrictive. She was scared that if she shared with maybe her cousins, then she will be judged, and her parents might get to know about the struggle which she's facing in the college, and so she decided not to share it with anyone. And one fine day, we found out that she actually ended her life because of all that, because she couldn't take up what was going on with her and she was not sharing it with anyone. So I really appreciate the initiative which we are running today. And this helpline is actually so helpful because a lot of time the loved ones of the people who are troubled are not even aware that what is going on with them. They're not comfortable sharing it with their family, but they might be able to share it with a complete stranger. So that's why I feel like this initiative is super important. And maybe we can talk about some things. I really like the topic of our discussion that we're going to talk about how to build relationships. And this is something which I feel like a lot of people struggle. I used to be one of those. If you look at my early life, you will see I haven't had like many or any friends, I'll say. But once I got married, I saw that my husband has a lot of friends, and then he started teaching me this value of like building relationship with people. And that's when I started actually you know, going out, having conversation with the people. Up until that point, I used to feel like very uncomfortable having a conversation with a stranger, and so now I will say Pei is my friend because we met at Philippines streaming and we clicked, I will say, and then we went on a quick tour around Manila. It was fun, and since then it's like we have met on a few occasions and our bond has grown stronger. But if we think about it, a few years ago we were not even aware of who, like Pei was not aware who Piyusha is, and I was not aware who Pei is, and so it was a really interesting thing to actually do. And now I attend a lot of the community conferences, and I meet with people, and then you connect with some people on a different level, and then you become friends with them. And so it's an interesting process which I'm exploring right now, because for, I will say, about 20 years of my life I was not sure how to actually build relationship with people or how to make friends. And um even though my husband says that I'm still like, I act like a child because he needs to teach me like how I can do that. But I feel like it's still an interesting process, and um I am still here to learn all this from Pei, because every time I have a conversation with Pei, I feel like I learn something really interesting because of the way you explain it, maybe.
Okay, let me know if if you've got any questions or if this is something new or something different. I try to share what I've learned through the lens of the volunteer work that I've done and through listening to a lot of our callers. So today's session, the one that I'm presenting right now, is called How to Build Better Relationships. So very quickly, um, I am I'm a project manager. We're in the tech space, Salesforce space. So I've done lots and lots of projects. But what I really want to talk about is the fact that the last this last 16 years of my life, this is my identity actually, is as a Samaritan's listening volunteer. And I tell a lot of people that I can kind of draw a dotted line between here when I started volunteering. Suddenly all my projects got a lot easier, less drama, mainly because I was listening better. I was coaching my team to also listen better to each other, to me, to the client, to the company. And so, we just got along a lot better. So, based on that, I thought, I would share some of the things that I've learned. So, these are what I call four things that I believe to be true. Um, Number one, the nurture side of us is almost always stronger than nature. So we're always talking about nature versus nurture. Um, are we born that way or are we made that way? So I was trying to think about how can I illustrate this particular concept. So, okay, so I came up with the idea: if you have an apple seed and you plant that apple seed and you kind of let it grow, what you might get is an apple bush, right? So, but what if you had an apple seed and then you fertilize it with some donuts and you water it and you tell it affirmations like you will grow up to be a very strong, wonderful tasting donut apple tree. You might have something completely different than what you expect. So this is how I kind of envisage in my mind. So all of us are born with certain things, and different things, the events in our lives kind of like shape how we show up. So that leads me to truth, my truth that I see it. Number two, which is everyone carries invisible baggage. So if I imagine people who are kind of like talking, chatting, and things like that, one of the things that I think about is, I am a gamer. And if you play the kind of games I play, which I played a lot of World of Warcraft, you have like health bars and mana bars and things like that. So when I'm talking to people and I'm interacting with them, sometimes I try and figure out how much of what they're showing up is nature and what is nurture. What I'd like to share is that the thing is, we're all very, very different, and we all have different ways of thinking about the world based on who we grew up with, our siblings, our neighborhood, our culture, our school, our country, and so on. Because if you think about it, if you're someone who is very um, shy at work, it might be because in your previous job you had bosses who were very overbearing or very micromanaging, and so that in your next role you're going to show up in a different way than if in your previous job you were very respected, you had high autonomy, and you did work that really, really felt very satisfactory to you. So we all are going to show up very differently. And what that means is that we all will have different, ideas and humor, and because of the memories that we have, our level of tolerance. So, we're both parents, and our level of tolerance have gone up, I would say, right? What, or is it down? I think our standard of cleanliness have gone down, level of tolerance have gone up. So, different stages of our lives, we are different. We got, different trauma, hang-ups. Some of us will have had different kind of tragedies, which means that based on that, um, we will have different feelings when it comes to a specific topic. So, for example, you might have been in a situation where you're talking about something, and you might say something about a client which you think is very innocuous, and the other person might get really upset and blow up because that one word might have a very different meaning. And people say, oh, that word was very triggering because that word might have triggered in the other person a lot of emotions that you will not feel because you didn't go through the kind of experience that they have, the kind of trauma that they might have gone through. So that's what I mean by the fact that we all carry invisible baggage. Nobody knows what we're going through. So I've had quite a few speakers already today in my 24 in 24 challenge. Christy, who was on the very first one, she talked about the grief of losing her husband, three husbands, through different reasons. And she said, she was holding the husband's ashes, and she was thinking, well, why is the world still going on? People's lives are still carrying on. Why don't they realize what I'm going through? And then they gave up an epiphany, because the flip side is true as well. She doesn't know what other people are going through, because who's going to walk into your mind, right? So we all have invisible baggage. Leads me to my truth that I understand it. Number three, which is shame kills, right? That emotion is one of the most destructive emotions that I can think of. There are others, like regret and anger, but I think shame is one of the most dangerous and toxic one, because I think some of us have been this person, right? I have been this person. When you have someone who is in power, and what they do is they belittle you, they shame you, they minimize you, and you just feel so small, right? And shame is what brings people to that, to call us either shame that has been imposed on themselves by themselves, or by other people, like parents, society, that you can't be who you are, or you're not enough, that sort of thing. Leads me very nicely to number four, right? I believe that the deepest human need is actually to matter. It is obviously food and air to survive, right? But you can see a lot of people who have all the basics: food, air, the home, beautiful clothes. So you think about some celebrities who might have, decided to take their lives, even though they have everything, because in their heart they might think that they don't matter, that the world might be better off without them. Okay, so I like to share these four truths that I believe, because I think that is a really, really good starting point. Because once you understand that someone else is different from you and going through things that you may not know, and you enter every conversation in that manner, right? Things will already change. Instead of, if you're driving and someone cuts in front of you, instead of getting angry that this person disrespected you, if you think maybe they're in a hurry because they're trying to get to the hospital, maybe they had a very urgent phone call that they have to be somewhere, and they are worried and scared out of their mind. So think about that. If you have that thought in that moment, your feelings will be different, because you're full of a different kind of feeling, maybe empathy, maybe, conscious that there's another human who might be in a state that is stressed and angry and worried, and that's going to make you stop feeling angry. So if you approach every interaction that way, how you present yourself will also be different, right? Okay, so what I want to share here is the concept of empathy, and no one explains it better than Brene Brown. So, I have time. I'm going to share this video. It's not very long, but it explains it very well. And it is this. Okay, I hope everyone can hear it.
The video is not audible
Oh,
actually.
you can't hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, can't hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my screen. Right? Apologies. I don't know how to make it work because I'm using something called Restream. Um, Pick up or screenshot this and watch that. So basically, what Brene Brown's saying is that empathy fuels connection, sympathy. Oops, sympathy drives disconnection, right? And it's talking about how what it means to be empathetic. And what I have done is I have drawn it here. Sympathy is when someone's in a hole and you're outside and you're saying, I'm sorry you're in this hole. I'm sorry you lost your job. I'm sorry your husband wants to leave you. I'm sorry you feel this way. Okay. And sometimes it is accompanied by, why don't you go and go to the spa, which will make you feel better. Why don't you get over that guy and get into the dating game again? So it's very much a, you're down there, you're miserable. I don't like that you're miserable because you make me feel uncomfortable. So you better be, fix yourself. You better be okay, because you're not okay makes me feel not okay, right? Um, a lot of people don't like that. When you're here, that's the last thing you want. Okay. Empathy is different. Empathy is where the person isn't trying to fix it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to sit down next to you and feel what you're feeling. It's like, if you imagine just sitting next to someone at the park, someone who is going through a really tough time. You're sitting there, you're being with them. We've had a few conversations today already about how to be with someone who's going through grief or loss. It is just being there, allowing them to speak if they want to speak, and um, taking the lead and listening and not solving the problem or being judgmental either in a verbal or a non-verbal way. Now, Brene Brown talks about, is it possible to learn empathy? And her answer is yes. All right. So she gives four things that I want to share here. And I like, it's very easy, these four things. The first one is perspective taking. Right. I was trying to draw how to take someone's perspective. And the best I could do was, yeah, have my eyeballs. Right. It's basically trying to stand in someone's shoes so that you can see the world through their eyes. Now, if you haven't watched the show, there's a series on Netflix called The Three Body Problem. Have you seen it, Piyusha? Okay.
No.
Okay. Your assignment is to go and watch it, right? Uh,
Okay.
it's okay. The first part, it really grabs me by the brains and go, oh my goodness, if this existed, there would be no problems on the planet. It is how what you can do to take someone's perspective, because that's the only way to feel what they are feeling, right? When you can see it through their eyes, you're not judging, so that um, when you think of words that are adjectives that are, oh my goodness, why did you do that, that's so dumb, why did you leave him, did you not do this, or did you not look after yourself, that you've lost your baby, all these things are very very judgy, right? So in order to be empathetic, you need to just remove all of that, whatever you feel about the person's political stand or the way they're bringing up the children, or why are they trying to bring up their kid as vegan? Don't they know that it's not blah blah? These, they're very very judgy. Remove them, not only through words but also through your non-verbal body language. Because I think those of us who have grown up with judgy adults know, so much judgment can be hidden in one eyebrow, and or the way you say something. So no judgment. Try not to solve their problems, because unless they ask you to, okay, so no problem solving. And then finally, communicating what you've heard. So the four things: take the perspective so that you can see things from their point of view. You don't judge them. Don't tell them that they're wrong or they're less than for feeling or being who they are. Don't try and solve their problem. And then once you've done all that, is to communicate that you've heard. Not the husband go, yes dear, kind of communication. Is really really communicating, like, I hear that, you've gone through such a rough time with your PhD thesis. I want to hear more if you're ready to talk to me about it. So this will impart, the more you do, the more you will gain the skill of empathy. What do you think, Pusha? Do you think it's easy to learn?
I will say it is a very difficult thing to learn because it doesn't come to everyone very easily, and I myself am learning this. I really like the way you actually have conversation with other people. When I was in London and we were attending a bunch of different events, I have observed like how you connect with people, and it was like a really interesting experience for me because I remember like after your session at London's Calling, someone came to you, and when we were trapped in that room because they were planning a surprise, she shared her problems with you, and you were like, "Okay, yeah, but why don't you do that? Like, tell me more about why it is happening, or something like that." So it is like you were trying to um, not exactly solve an issue for her, but trying to listen to what she has to say, and communicating like exactly the way you have mentioned on the slide, that communicating what you have heard, so that a lot of time it's not like you want people to solve your issues, it's more like you want them to hear you out. And for example, I'm having an issue and I'm talking about all of those things, maybe when I'm sharing it with you, I can find a solution in my head and I will feel like, okay, I can maybe implement that. So I probably like, am not exactly looking for a solution, but I'm looking for someone who can talk to me and understand what I have to say. So, but it's a very difficult skill to learn because if you haven't had the experience, for example, like Peg, you have been volunteering for 16 years. So you are actually doing this for a very long time. That's why I really like to observe you having conversation with other people because I can see that experience in those conversations, the way you talk to people, the way you empathize with them. Again, not sympathy, but like the way you empathize with them. It's like really an interesting perspective to see because you don't see many people doing that. Most of the people will be on the surface level, oh, okay, I'm really sorry to hear that, and things like that. Um, but to actually, see the world through that person's lens is like a really difficult job. Not everyone can do that. Since I've started practicing it more and more, especially since the consulting exercise we did last year, because this was one of the biggest lessons which you taught us in that consulting exercise last year. And I feel like since then I am trying to use the skill set and deliberately trying to put my mind whenever I'm faced with an issue. I'll think about why this is happening and then I'll try to have conversations with the other person in a sense that I want to hear them out and understand why this is happening rather than making judgments as to, hey, you're doing this, I don't want to talk to you, like something like that. So it is a very difficult skill to learn. I feel like it is going to take years for me to learn the skills, but I feel when I will get there, it is going to make a huge difference. Even now, I can see a huge difference because I'm sure you've heard me saying a lot of times that the biggest reason why I'm working in my current role is because of my team and the love I get from them because I have started implementing um, this process not just with my team but almost everyone around me, and I can see the difference and like how they connect with me, how they feel like I am approachable. Even though I'm their manager, they don't feel like, okay, if I share that with her, I'm going to get in trouble. They feel like they can come to me. And so this is something which, everyone, if you learn the art of empathy and connecting with people through it, it will make a huge difference. Like everywhere in your personal relationships, in your professional relationships, in your friendships, and you're actually just, I will say, making the world a better place because you're not um you know
Judging.
putting, yeah, putting pins up people's pains, and you're not judging them for something. And so um it's something I really like because the other person feels happy, you feel happy that you made somebody else's day, and it's
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. So yes, I think you can learn it. I think you already have it. So for you to say, "Oh, it's going to be very difficult and take you a long time," I think you're, a good way towards being very empathetic. Okay, so the other thing, right, that helps us build relationship is emotional intelligence, and a lot of people talk about it. But if I were to break it down, I think there are four parts to it. As Daniel Goleman says, yeah, Daniel Goleman, who wrote Emotional Intelligence. So first one is self awareness. It is the ability to look into ourselves and see where the faults are, what triggers, what creates the moods, what makes us think what we think, and to understand the impact of this behavior on other people. So I think a lot of people, if they're not self aware, are also very difficult to coach. And these are the people that I usually let go from jobs because they don't want to see why the customer has, such feedback about them and things like that. They can't see what's wrong with their kind of like behavior. So that's self awareness. It's number one. Second one is about self management, which is once you kind of realize where your triggers are, what changes the your outlook or your moods, it is the ability to think before you act. So if I know that my kids leaving stuff on the floor triggers me to self management is where I then go, I go, I'm just gonna turn off the Wi-Fi right now. No, I'm just kidding, right? Not those sort of reactions. It's like, hello, child. Why? Okay, sorry, I can't do that. But you understand what I'm trying to say. The difference between self-awareness, knowing what triggers me, self-management is knowing that even though it triggers me, how do I manage it so that I don't turn out like a horrible mom? So that's what self-management is. The other part, so the first two is the self, the next two at the bottom is the other, right? So social awareness is the ability to understand how others are feeling and what energy that you can read from them. So sometimes the energy is a sad energy or an angry energy, or those sort of things. It's the ability to read nonverbal cues and be able to moderate or modulate. So if you're giving a presentation and you are getting a vibe that people aren't open to what you're trying to say, then it is about changing how we are so that we get a more receptive response, right? So that links to relationship management. So once you understand yourself, you can manage your own feelings, you can read other people. That means this is the fourth bit. You can then create those relationships, and you can build relationships with people because you now know how to read them and how to treat them in a way that they're more receptive to you. So when I did this slide deck, I added this slide. Okay, it was a cartoon that I did some time ago. So just bear with me. So let's say someone says your report is rubbish, and the other guy says question, and he says what? Is this a task level conflict? Is this a personal level conflict, or is it a you conflict? That means if someone comes up with saying like your report is rubbish, it is not a very mature way of delivering feedback. So at one point, I was trying to think, okay, if I wanted to get the other person to clarify, I'll say, do you have a problem with how I did something? Do you have a problem with me? So a personal level, or did you just get out of bed wrong? Right? And this is whereas is a report really shit, you don't like me, or you got out of bed wrong. Okay, so I think when you're able to break something down based on a feedback, then your emotional intelligence is high. Although I would say that this person may not like how you've responded to them, right? Because obviously if you're the kind of person who would come up with that sort of comment, then you're unlikely to see the humor in this sort of responses. So there you go. I'm just grumpy because I ran out of coffee and donuts. Oh no, that's awful. Okay, let me fix that report and get you your fix. Just don't bite my head off. Okay, so this is another humorous way of trying to resolve a situation. So, how does being self aware help with conflict management? Because it means you're less likely to get upset by unimportant things, and you're more likely to have the kind of humor that might diffuse the situation as well. Okay, so I drew this one as well. So when a junior hire makes a mistake, your senior might say, "You're new and you will probably make more stupid mistakes." And the junior might feel, "I'm so useless." So this person thinks he's kind but is patronizing and hurtful. And the junior is demoralized and may be afraid of trying new things. So you can see how this might play out. But if they say, "Don't worry, I've made mistakes like this before," the junior might feel, "Oh, okay, I don't feel so stupid anymore because you've just made me feel a little better." So it says mistakes are how we learn. Just make sure you learn from this one. And it goes, "Thank you, I will." Right? So compassion is another way of understanding and identifying what someone is going through. Um, Remember, you were a junior once before. I got a couple more doodles actually. All right, I drew this one. Okay. Right, you might have someone like a boss who believes that life is a zero sum game. Zero sum means if somebody wins, somebody loses, right? And we have met people like that, which means that I don't want to share my knowledge because if I share my knowledge with you, then you're going to get more clever and then you might be better than me and then you might take my job. So that's a zero sum game thinking. But then you have other people who believe that life is abundance. So you're sharing your knowledge, which is why I love you, Pisha, because you do so much for the community. You share your knowledge, you train, you motivate, you inspire people, and you're not paid to do all of that. So, just I like hanging out with you because you're just such a great human being. And you are person B, which is why we're friends, right? So you are generous in nature. And when you're generous with your knowledge, your time, your heart, your care, yourself, people are likely to be more attracted to you and you'll find it easy to build relationships. Plus the fact you're so bubbly as well, Piyusha. Okay, I'm just throwing that in there. Right. So this the last one I like this very much. I do this one time and it is also my signature cartoon in a lot of things. So this says, your bucket is empty. Let me fill it with sunshine and laughter. Won't you run out? These multiply when given away freely. And all these things. Do you have magic donuts that behave the same? And no, no magic donuts. But I believe this is true. This is based on a book in the UK, which is Have I Filled? Have you filled a bucket lately? I think is the title, which is about kindness. So if you fill someone's bucket, your bucket will refill. But if you dip into someone's bucket, your bucket will also go down. So it's a very, very simple concept about kindness and unkindness. And I think people who are kind and generous are also very contagious in how they bring, kind of like sunshine and laughter and just happiness to other people. And all of this like tied into fact, so you can kind of feel that I kind of cobble this talk together based on a few of my cartoons. But I think that kind of is a building block to building good relationships. It is about, understanding, I think, the four truths that I see them: empathy, about emotional intelligence, about being generous, about compassion, about sharing sunshine and laughter. So that's kind of where I've kind of like brought it in. This brings me to the end of my my slide deck. What are your thoughts, Piyusha, on that?
I feel like I absolutely agree with this. The sunshine and laughter. Um, the first thing is, if you are doing good with other people, good things come back to you, and it is like universal, whichever um, you know part of the world you are, whichever religion you're following. I feel like even if you're not following anything, this applies to almost everyone, and I live my life by that because I feel like, I'm sorry. So Neil actually came in and then Suresh took him away. And so he was upset that he cannot show his face here.
Oh,
Whenever I'm in the meetings, he loves to drop by here and then he'll be like,
okay. I know.
Sorry about that. But I feel like the more you share with people, the better you get. Even if you're doing it like maybe sometimes when you start you feel like, oh, why should I do that, you can get better at it, because when you're teaching somebody you get better at it. So you can think about yourself as well if that makes you happy. But I feel like, to me personally, I like doing these things, and it gives me a unique joy. I don't know, it's very difficult to explain. A lot of time people ask me why you're doing this. I think a lot of people ask you as well, because when we're doing these things people are like, why would you spend your time and energy and money there? I don't think I have enough time. But I feel like it gives you such joy. For me, for example, the validation comes from when I share the things. Maybe I talk about a certification or I talk about a specific feature, and somebody comes back to me saying, hey, that session was super helpful and I was able to pass my certification through that. It just makes your day. It just makes you happy, even though you are not the person who actually passed that certification. It just like gives you a smile, like, hey, I am making a difference in somebody's life, and you keep on going. I remember when I started doing LinkedIn lives in 2021. I feel like seven, five, six people, or maybe seven, eight people used to join at that time, and I used to feel like, am I even like making a difference? Why am I doing this? Like after a few lives I felt like that, and then I got a message that, hey, the things you shared, because I used to call it like build your career in Salesforce at that point of time. And I got a message from someone. People said that, I was not sure which way to move forward, and I attended a couple of your lives, and I was able to figure out, and finally I got an internship with so and so company, and it is like a big step in my career, because I was a bit sad I was not able to find a job, and that direction actually helped me to actually get an internship. And that was like, I will say, I call it a success, and I started doing like more of those, and then I renamed it to Trailblazer Talks. Whatever. But it was interesting, but that actually kept me going, and since then I received like so many messages, and it just, every time I hear that
Mm.
feedback from people, it just gives you that affirmation that you're looking for, that whatever you're doing is actually making an impact, and you just keeps on going, because that affirmation is something which makes me happy, and that's why I end up doing all this. So whatever you're doing, um, you will actually find your um, things which actually makes you happy, and that will automatically makes other people happy. So but if I try to like steal somebody else's happiness, I will see like a huge dip in mine as well. And I've seen that happening with people as well.
Mm.
Um, I never try to do that.
It's not in your nature, Piyusha. It isn't. Okay. Well, thank you so much,
But
right, for keeping me company and sharing your story. Especially, I didn't know that you lost a cousin through suicide. So thank you for sharing that and also engaging with me. And I'm just gonna pop this here. Yes. Okay. So for those of you who are watching, please, can you donate? Even if you don't donate, hope you got something from this session. You're able to be there for other people, to listen, and to be more generous and bring more sunshine to other people's life. Just like Piyusha, every time I see her smile, or her very infectious giggle, I am also giggling inside. And what if I'm not feeling great? Suddenly I'm feeling great again. So thank you so much for bringing sunshine into my little room today, Piyusha.
well, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm really happy to see that we're halfway through the 24/7 365 mark.
Not halfway.
Just keep
It's
donating.
not halfway. I've only done like 5. I've got another 19 to do. It's not halfway.
No, no, from donations
Oh,
point of view, sorry.
donations.
No, I know
Oh,
we,
yeah.
yeah, you have a long way to go, and I will keep on supporting you throughout the day.
Thank you
But
so much.
from donations
Yes.
point of view, we are halfway there.
Yes, we
So
are.
really excited to see the support.
Thank you for your
And
donation as well,
hope
Piyusha. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I will be back on in like 15 minutes with Caroline. Take care.
all right,
Bye.
all right.
Bye.